ladies and gentlemen, across the nation, we're packed in here, 500,000 people, I would say, here in Times Square, the village green in little old New York town.
On December 31st, 1963, the usual collection of revelers gathered in Times Square to welcome the new year.
And in a matter of seconds, it will be 1964, the new year, a fresh start. 2 seconds, 1. Happy New Year! Happy New Year, 1964!
As they broke out the champagne, Americans were full of hope for the year ahead. But their optimism was tinged with a deep anxiety. No one could forget the shocking events that had occurred just 5 weeks earlier in Dallas, Texas.
Mrs. Kennedy cried out when the shots were fired, was weeping and trying to hold up her husband's head.
The year 1964 really began on November 22nd, 1963, with a tragedy of the assassination of a president.
It's difficult, unless you lived through it, to realize how traumatic it was for Americans.
It shook the national confidence. Was the president so vulnerable? Is the country that vulnerable?
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago.
We just got the word Lyndon B. Johnson has been sworn in as the President of the United States.
I know that the world shares the sorrow that Mrs. Kennedy and her family bear. I will do my best. That is all I can do. I ask for your help and God's.
That singular event led to the 60s as we know it. The letting loose of everything.
It would be the year when change was inescapable. The moment that fundamentally altered the kind of nation America would become.
It was in 1964 that every kind of split in American life suddenly became open and visible.
I must be the greatest! I told the world!
It was the kind of watershed that you very rarely see in history.
Things are cracking and breaking and fracturing, and being, most importantly, rethought.
It would be the year when the future of the country would be fiercely and passionately debated.
1964 was the year that changed American politics. Absolutely.
My fellow citizens, we have come now to a time of testing.
We set the stage for this to be the greatest country ever. We set the stage whereby we could be a showcase for democracy.
What happened in '64 was terrifying to us. We saw America changing right in front of our eyes.
It's this just explosive year where people are forced to say what they mean what they say, and follow it up.
1964 would be the year when institutions came under assault and when generations began to split apart.
It was the coming of age of the biggest, best educated, and wealthiest generation in the history of America, and there's going to be trouble. And there was.
It's better. On January 1st, the year ahead did not appear to hold out the promise of revolutionary change. The new hit song on the radio was Bobby Vinton's "There, I've Said It Again." Vogue magazine's cover proclaimed the look that's 1964 and featured a modest sky blue blouse and jaunty straw hat.
I think a lot of people would say that we still weren't out of the 50s completely. America hadn't taken its coat and tie off yet.
The thing was to have a very narrow lapel and have a very narrow cut and to go out into the world with quite clear circumstances in which you advanced in one place, and that was that.
You dressed like everybody else. Nobody was particularly noticeable.
On television, Bonanza remained one of the nation's highest-rated shows. Hello, Dolly, starring Carol Channing, began its remarkable run on Broadway.
There, you see, you were jealous.
Of course I was jealous.
And in movie theaters, Rock Hudson and Doris Day starred in the romantic comedy Send Me No Flowers.
As a teenager, I thought that I would just get married. I used to, every boy I used to date, I used to, put Mrs. So-and-so in front of his name,
Walter Lippmann, the kind of marquee pundit of the day, said that America was more united and peaceful itself than it ever had been. I mean, 1964, and we see this great mass middle class. People who grew up with outhouses in their backyard are taking their children to vacation houses on the lake. And the idea was that America had figured it out.
We came out of World War II, the most prosperous nation in the world, and there was this tremendous sense that we had defeated fascism.
Our parents had collaborated as a society, and one of the greatest achievements ever, World War II and the destruction of Hitler. There was every reason to kind of get along and feel comfortable, not rock the boat. And it seemed like it was a period of quietude.